Tony, you should maybe turn your video. Okay.
Hi, Jack. You're muted coming in, so if you want to unmute and turn your camera on, we'll be able to answer some questions there.
Hey, sorry, I'm actually William.
Oh, William, there we go.
Don't know how to change the name.
If you go to the top right with your three bubbles on your screen there, you should be able to see an option that's rename.
Where?
Like on your screen, where your video
there
screen.
We go.
Yeah. Believe me, I've done so many Zoom things by this point.
Is Jack your brother?
He is, yes.
Oh, you're using his machine, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Jack better than you, though, Will?
Pardon me?
Isn't Jack better than you?
No. Not yet.
Is he
Nice
gonna
stash, buddy.
Sorry, what?
Is that a Movember stash?
Yeah, it is. A lot of making fun of it in the house right now.
You telling me you grew that in 12 days?
I did.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Much better than Krabies ever was.
So is Jack going to be as tall as you are, Will, or do you think you'll stay taller?
I think I'll still be taller than him. He's not quite as tall as me yet. I don't think he'll get super close to me.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Are you coming to DC next year?
Hopefully. I was
Hopefully.
planning on it.
Do you know what program you're looking at?
The Trades Fundamental program.
That's been quite a few of our athletes have been going into that program the last few years, and it's based out of the Whitby campus. So I'm sure you've checked out the campus over there.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions in terms of studying at Whitby and then also being an athlete with the Lords, having to come to Oshawa and that?
I don't know. How far is it really from the Whitby campus to the Durham campus?
Am I answering some of these, Jordan, or are you?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's probably about 10 kilometers. So by bus, I think it's about 20 minutes. Are you going to have a car?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't know if you can stay in residence at Oshawa or residence in Whitby. Do you know about that, Jordan?
They do have a residence at Whitby now, so you could apply to stay at the residence there. And then in terms of getting to the North Oshawa campus, there is a direct bus between the campuses. So all you need is your student card, and that pretty much serves as your Durham Region Transit Pass. You can just jump on any of the DRT buses, including that direct one between the campuses. So it's fairly easy to kind of jump between those two. They've made it as easy as possible.
Yeah, we had two guys this year. Last year actually, James and Brandon had to do that commute. And they said it was fine. And we always have the early practice at usually 5 to 7, 3 nights a week, and one late 7 to 9. So depending on your courses, your classes as well, those guys, they hardly ever missed or were late for practice.
And then a lot of athletes, once you kind of get into the groove of things, there's always carpooling going on because we do have quite a few more athletes popping up at that Whitby campus, between the trades programs and then the food programs, and obviously the big expansion that they're just doing. There's going to be a few more that they're going to be adding out there too.
But they don't have any food there, do they? At that new campus, right?
They have I've been there a few times. They have a Tim Hortons. They have like a mini Tim Hortons. They have I think like pizza on hand and stuff like that, but no food court or anything fully made out yet, I don't think, other than if you just go to the CFF and get something at the bistro or the marketplace there.
Yeah, that's one thing you got to look at, Will. Maybe looking at what kind of residence you want to do, because the South Village one has the meal plan with it.
Do any of your athletes stay at the Oshawa campus and still go to class at the Whitney campus? Is that
Yeah.
what would you guys suggest would be easier?
It depends on what you're looking for. If you are looking at residence, obviously the three offer a little bit of different things. Like Coach Tony from our women's team mentioned, the meal plan does come with the one residence, so that's a huge bonus, and you have the calf right there. That's generally big convenience for people. If you're okay with, getting up, jumping on the bus, and heading down to the Whitby campus to go through your classes and stuff like that, it might be a good recommendation to actually live on the Oshawa campus and commute that way. But at the same time, the Whitby residence is almost brand new. Last year was the first year people lived in it. So if you have a chance to check that out, and with the expansion on the campus over there, if there are more food offerings and stuff like that, it's more or less what convenience works for you that way. Do you want the convenience of class? Do you want the convenience of being at North Oshawa and the extra stuff they have there with the gym and practice and strength conditioning and athletic therapy and stuff like that?
Yeah, I was just going to add as well, Jordan, that we'll once you know your schedule, or they'll hopefully give you some idea of when your classes are gonna be, and if you have some days off, and a lot of student athletes do have days off with no classes, so it might make sense to actually stay at residence in Oshawa, closer to the gym and athletic therapy and more food options, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think any of our guys last year or this year were in Whitby and stayed in Oshawa.
So beforehand, I also did give Coach Mike a list of questions that we typically get. We ran this series during the summer, so I'll just toss some of these up. I'm sure these will probably hit some of the things you're wondering about too there, Will. So first question, Mike, this one's kind of a big one, is just what's a typical week like for your team in season?
Yeah, so last year this is all pre-COVID. So during COVID, obviously the OCAA canceled the season. A lot of schools, not Durham, but a lot of other schools in the OCAA canceled their varsity programs. They canceled their recreational sports programs. They basically closed their gyms down. So Durham has been extremely proactive and very positive in establishing all the safety protocols and getting the approvals and all of the necessities in place to allow an environment for student athletes to come in a very safe and controlled situation. So this year, what we're doing is training with elite training systems twice a week, and that's physical testing, that's doing workouts and athletic training, and we have one night a week for 2 hours where we're in the gym on court. That's all very carefully controlled with social distancing, disinfecting the balls and the different pieces of equipment and apparatus that we're contacting. A typical season, like last year as an example, we would have practice 4 nights a week. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays, 5 to 7, Wednesday was 7 to 9. Always with the option to take a night off for rest and recovery if we had a big weekend or we had a couple of games right in a row, either before or after these practices. So we would always try to manage the workload on the athletes. In addition to that, there's the ETS as well, which is its own specific workout area upstairs with specific strength and conditioning coaching. We're going to be working with them very closely to make that program more volleyball specific. And Dwayne's on the call as well. Hey, Dwayne, how are you? And Dwayne's very interested in developing that fitness aspect for volleyball specific exercises as well. The team room is off limits this year, but on average years or typical years, it's accessible, and the athletes get the access to that team room all through the season, so that when practices, they can come in before practice, after practice, there's showers, there's lockers, flat screen TV for doing game film reviews and things like that. Dwayne, you have anything else you'd want to add to our typical week?
No, actually, you got it all covered up there, Mike. Just the number of practices and the access to training.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'll jump in.
Obviously, that would be in addition to the games, so any competition. Last year, we had 3 exhibition tournaments, 2 that we traveled to, 1 that we hosted ourselves, and then a 9-game league before Christmas and a 9-game league after Christmas. Last year, we were very successful, had a crossover playoff game that we won, went to OCs at Fleming College, won 2 games there and got into the gold medal game and came second, but qualified for nationals and had 3 games at nationals scheduled. And that was right when COVID hit. So that season was the longest season I've ever been part of. Also, our most successful season, the most successful season I've ever been part of as well. And so it extended into March. Yeah, but normally we're done the 3rd week of February.
What an experience that was when everything started while we were at New Brunswick too, eh?
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of goes into the second question. I'll pose this one to Dwayne. Can you just describe kind of how practices are typically run for the men's volleyball team?
Well, we always did certain prerequisites, certain things we had to do every single time. We had to achieve certain times, and the most important parts were making sure we're doing well in our serving and our passing. And then we worked on certain things that would start developing our game and a concept so that we could actually be a team instead of a bunch of individuals. So we worked on a lot of game transferable skills and game transferable drills. So, but serving and receiving were a major component of our training in practice. You start the game with serve, and we don't serve it with the ball in the court, serve for points. And if you can't pass the ball up in the air, ain't no chance your setter's going to get a nice ball to the attack. So serving and passing, high priorities, work really hard on those. Sometimes to the point where people get bored with them, but the thing is that I haven't met a team that's done it perfectly yet. I haven't coached a team that does it perfectly, even though we trained it all season long. And so the practice generally has a lot of that, and then a lot of team concept and transferability.
I'll just add to what Dwayne said about the importance of serving and serve receive. And just before the call, I had a quick review of some of the game film from last year and some of our stats that Jordan writes up in the recap. And I think it was in our gold medal game, we lost the first set by 2 points, the second set by 2 points, and the third set by 3 points. So 7 points. They had 9 aces and we had 3. So of the 7 points, there's 6 right there on the serve. And I think they had 3 more blocks. We had more kills. And obviously they had a few more points. And right there is an aggressive serve where, you know, if we had that aggressive serve and they had an error in serve receive, it could have been a much different outcome in that championship game. So.
What's going to happen, Dwayne, when you do see a team perfect at service and serve receive? Is that when you're
just going to pack our bags and head back to the locker room?
Hopefully that's your team, right?
I really hope it's our team. Yeah. You know what? It's amateurs practice until they get it right, and professionals practice till they can't do it wrong. So, you know, we don't want you to be scared of doing something at 25-25 that you're not afraid to do at 0-0. Mm-hmm. So train until our bodies take over and we don't have to think about it anymore.
We also train we try to keep the drills as game-like as possible. So try to maintain a rather a chaotic pace to the drills. Because in volleyball, it's a deflective game, deflective sport where the ball's deflecting off of body parts, and most of the time you're going to be in control of it, but you don't really know where that ball's going to go. So we try to keep a fast pace, fairly chaotic, but manage it. There's also some techniques and tools and equipment that we have at our disposal at Durham to help the athletes visualize, see what's happening, and get pretty well instant feedback. And it really helps them in error detection, error correction as well, and helps us as coaches to kind of focus in on some of the aspects that the athletes might not even really know that they're doing, and we can highlight it for them. They can work on those.
What's some of the equipment that you guys are able to utilize for practice and stuff like that? Because I've been to some other colleges and universities, and their athletics, they're running around with like apple boxes to make people stand on and stuff. But we got a little bit more equipment, eh?
Yeah. Well, there's all the physical pieces of equipment, the larger boxes that we stand on, lots of balls in practice, which is super important to keep drills going. There's blocking boxes, there's setting targets, there's trampolines to hit balls off of, and it also helps to make it more chaotic. Sometimes we'll set up the iPad that has a delayed video replay on it. So we'll point it at the camera at a particular point or spot on the court where athletes are jumping in. They're going to do a skill. That iPad will film them, and then 10 seconds later, that action of that athlete will replay, and they can walk over, watch it, and then jump right back into the repetition of the drill. That's a super effective way to give them instant feedback as well. Sometimes we'll have a coach, either I or Dwayne, will have a radar gun. So we've got a pocket radar, and we'll be watching the speed of the serve. We're trying to get a float serve over about 50 kilometers an hour, so it starts to get the ball moving. Especially with the new molten ball, it really seemed to move a lot. And the spin serve, we want to try to get that up over 75 kilometers an hour, 80 kilometers an hour, somewhere up in there. And it really starts to drop down quickly after it passes over the net. Another one is coach's eye. So again, it's on the iPad. And as the athletes are going through a progression, we'll be taking film with them. We can stop it, run it in slow motion. And then, you can actually animate with coach's eye some of the aspects and show lines and shapes on it to help the athlete again visualize maybe a body positioning which might be a little more efficient or effective. And as Dwayne had pointed out, it's so much of it's muscle memory, and it's getting your body and your hands and arms, your forearms especially, in the right position that instantly you can control that the trajectory of the ball. Dwayne, do you have anything to add to that?
I think you said it all, Mike. I think you hit them all.
Sounds good.
Super positive guy.
One of the things that came up a lot over our summer sessions was just people asking about athletic therapy. I think one of the reasons your team did really well last year is I don't know how many guys you had necessarily going through athletic therapy, but you guys were pretty injury free for the most part, I think. No?
Yeah, we don't get as high participation as Tony's team does at training. The therapy is outstanding. Last year we had an athletic therapist and a trainer. They come to every practice. They're there at every game. They travel with the team. They're fantastic. They take care of the athletes. It's also super important the way that we train and that we give the athletes recovery time as well. That all that works hand in hand with therapy and trying to manage stress on the body. Dwayne, do you have anything else to add to that?
Well, I was very I'll say thankful for the therapy because we did have a few boo-boos throughout the year that there are people there to take care of and take the people that are very qualified to take care of those types of injuries that Mike can coach and I can help Mike out. And there's people that are taking care of the injuries when they occur so that it's something that we don't have to be on top of. And as long as we get the information to make good choices and decisions, the injuries being dealt with by very, very qualified and capable people.
Yeah, and like Mike already touched on, most of our teams will typically have two either student trainers or student therapists embedded with the team, and they'll be with the team for the entirety of the season, at the games, at practices, dealing with everything that they need to deal with. But at the same time, we have full-on athletic therapy on campus run by two athletic therapists, Saul and Allison. And then Jess from the university side also helps out with DC at times. And that's just pretty much run through a booking system where they take what is deemed the highest priority. They get to book time in to see them specifically so that they can assist and plan out whether it's rehabilitation, whether it's just dealing with diagnosis. So it's definitely something that stands out in the college ranks. Not too many other schools will be traveling with trainers and therapists. When we do host big tournaments, that's one of the things too, is that we have those people there. So then they end up helping other teams because they're available there. So it's definitely a big advantage to have the athletic therapy backing that DC has.
Mm. The facilities on campus as well are really, really outstanding. There's massage that's available, the mental health facilities and specialists. There are ice baths.
The athletes love to hang out in the ice baths.
Yeah, it's quite extraordinary, really, what Durham College has to offer.
Something else that came up over the summer, question-wise, and both Dwayne and Mike, you guys can chime in on this, is just kind of what tips you give your athletes academic-wise and what procedures they need to follow if they have a conflict between varsity and their studies.
So we're very adamant that student athletes are students first and athletes second. There are rules in place. So if there's a class that's in conflict with a practice, then if the athlete has talked to their prof, the person who's responsible for delivering that program, could be a lab, that if they feel that it's super important for them to miss it and to be with athletics, to be with us in volleyball, particularly if it's a game or an important practice right before a super important game, then they can talk to that professor about that and maybe get the work done ahead of time. But 99% of the time, if there's a conflict, then school takes priority, and we just work around that. We always ask that the athlete notifies the rest of the team in their group chat and us so that we can plan our practice around it. And normally we've had 10 to 12 athletes that are going to be a practice at any one time. And we can, run a very effective practice. Dwayne, do you have anything to add to that as well?
The biggest and easiest part, go to class.
Yeah.
Will, you taken the welding program?
I was going to take it after the first year of the trade fundamentals and then go into welding.
Like just as I say, is go to class, is that in the outside world, people know that Durham has a nice, very strong welding program. So if you come out of there and you're junk, they know that it's not the program. Okay, so go to class, learn something, be good at it, be really, really good at it, and be really good at volleyball as well, and you'll have a great time, and everything will go well for you.
There's lots of academic supports too. So part of being a varsity athlete is you have to maintain a certain GPA, and our support staff, Mike Duggan, who's our academic support for the varsity athletes, he sees grades and he sees when people might be slipping or might be struggling. And that's when support's provided to them, whether it's through our student academic learning services, SALS, which is on campus, whether it's through mandating a certain number of hours in our varsity study hall, which is a space specific to our athletes that they can go to use for study, or whether it's just having meetings with professors and stuff. So there's definitely supports there if someone is struggling academically or if they have any questions. But the biggest tip that always comes out of like our beginning of the year talking to student athletes about academics is at the very beginning of the year, just be upfront and honest with your teachers and let them know, hey, I'm a varsity athlete. There might be a time where I'm have to leave on a Friday. I know we have a class on a Friday, but we're traveling to Ottawa. But if you should know the schedule September for when you have matches in January. That's the great thing about sports is the schedule is already made. So one of the first things our athletes should be doing is talking to their teachers and looking at those and trying to come up with any solutions if needed.
We had an athlete at nationals who had a big exam, and the athletic director acted as a proctor, or was prepared to act as a proctor for that exam. And the prof in the end, I don't think required it. I think he let him do the exam when he got back. Because he was very proactive again, and he explained to that professor that it was nationals. We were gone almost a week. So it worked out really well.
Can I add in something?
Yeah, for sure.
So with Varsity 101, every year when new athletes come in and all athletes returning, we do a Varsity 101, and they explain the professor letter that's on the website that you can print off and input your name and tell like what we'd say to our athletes. Take that with your schedule and just say, hey, if I had this potential conflict, then you're being more proactive than being, reactive at the very last second. That's very, very helpful. And that's a good way of getting to know who your professors are, especially when you're doing more of a hands-on program. Like Dwayne said, if those guys know who you are, and they'll put more extra time into you and they'll help you out better that way too.
Thanks, Tony.
So next up on my list of questions, this deals more with incoming recruits or people that might be interested in playing volleyball, but they may be a year out of coming to Durham. What is one thing that they can work on leading up to coming to college? Athletics-wise, like if they wanted to play volleyball, what's one skill or one thing that they should be working on?
Well, I'm glad you clarified that athletically, because the number one thing is academics. Right, is to keep your marks up, keep your studies up, and make sure you get into the school and the program where you want to go. And then the volleyball is secondary to that. But as young athletes, I think it's super, super important to maintain a balanced approach to sports. Focus on the sport that you love, focus on the sport that you're really interested in, but make sure that you're also doing full body training with other sports. So if you're interested in volleyball, well, maybe you want to do a bit of soccer as well for some cardio, or some swimming, or in the winter some skiing or cross country skiing, things like that. Strength training is really important, but again, very controlled so that it's all within our LATV program. Dwayne, anything else to add?
No, just when it comes to volleyball, it's just be fit that you're not throwing up first day, not because you worked too hard, but just because you're just not ready. Just be prepared. Mindset that you want to do well at practice, that you want to perform your best, physically ready to do that, and be prepared with your academics as well, and what you're doing, your residence, your meal plans, whatever you've got going on, things that take the stress away from you, from having to worry about going out and seeing all these new faces, and some of these guys are giants, and you're walking in the gym and you're going, take some of the stress away. Make sure you plan as much as you can ahead. Just be ready, prepared.
So one experience that I had, Jordan, when my daughter went to university, and she had played OVA for 4 years. Was a good volleyball player, but went to a brand new school, a brand new area, didn't know anybody. The volleyball coach there didn't reach out, didn't connect with the athletes in the summer, didn't help the athletes connect with each other. And so to me, that's a huge lost opportunity to help to introduce a brand new student athlete to the program, to the coaches, to the other athletes. Even if they haven't made the team yet, they're still part of the volleyball community, part of the volleyball group. And I've always made it a priority of mine for new recruits coming in to engage with them very early on in the summer and invite them to open gyms. We do a beach volleyball day before COVID, a Rib Fest in Coburg, spending time together to get to know each other. Last year we did a overnighter weekend up at one of the guys' cottages up in Muskoka. And these kinds of things really help to establish a sense of community and brethren and confidence for new student athletes coming into the school, which again are really, really valuable.
Kind of going off this one as well. Obviously, right now, there's not really a chance to get out to see too many athletes competing. But when you do have a chance to watch athletes play, what is it you will look for when you are scouting? So, Dwayne, maybe you'll start with you for this one.
You want an athlete. We're looking for athletic, a person athletic, and then, of course, positional players from there. And it's just always those key components you want for each position. But you need somebody athletic. You need somebody that can play the game, that has an IQ for the game. Those are the things that we want to identify. And coachability. If you see somebody who can be coached, I know you've had a pretty good coach up there in the Ottawa area. He's not so bad. So he's probably he's probably giving you a couple of good skills, I'm sure. But athleticism is it in preparedness.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add chemistry and passion. And chemistry, it's how does that athlete relate to the other athletes, to the referees, to the stands, to their parents, to their coaches, but most importantly to their teammates. It's pretty. You can identify a chemistry issue very quickly, and usually see who's the cause of it and what the repercussions of that, what the impact of that are on the rest of the squad. And volleyball is such a momentum game and a mindset game that is when the chemistry starts to disintegrate, the level of play, the execution follows very closely behind. So along with the athleticism, we look at a person's, where their head's at, how they engage, how they can perform under pressure. Can they let go of a mistake? Can they move on quickly, or do they get down on themselves? We've had some super talented athletes that can't. They just don't accept that they've failed at something. They think because they failed, they're a failure, and they're not. They're learning. They're engaging in the game. It's part of the process. So we applaud people that really try something different, to push themselves outside their comfort zone, to learn a new skill. And when you watch an athlete who's getting ready to go to university, especially if they know that there's a college university coach recruiting them, they're nervous. So they're not playing with as much fluidity as they normally do. And we know that, and we expect to see a little bit of jitters and a little bit of, they're going to be off their game a bit. But that chemistry part, usually the best athletes, the best players for our program they're going to be able to flow right through that.
I was just thinking of that Ted Lasso show when you were talking about having a short memory.
Yeah.
Because there's the one nice clip in there where he's like, "What's the happiest animal?" A goldfish. Short memory.
That's a great show.
So heartwarming is what I've heard.
Yeah.
Another question here. For a high school student coming to watch a DC men's volleyball game, or a college or university student who's maybe thinking of doing a post-grad, and they come and watch one of our men's volleyball games, what is it that stands out about our team?
I think our teams have been, well, I've been here at Durham now 3 years. 2 years we struggled, and our last year we were extremely successful. All 3 years we tried to be physical teams. And you know, we were as physical as we could, but we're also very supportive of each other. I think that's, to me, a real hallmark of the Durham teams that I've been a part of, is that they go out with a lot of confidence, and they play every point to the end of the point and try to be as physical as possible. And, you know, obviously you're not going to win every point. You're not going to win every set. You're not going to win every match. Sometimes the other team is just more prepared, is bigger, faster, stronger. But we never gave up.
How about you, Dwayne? What do you think people come watch the team play last year? What do you think they see?
Actually, we're pretty lucky, especially at our home games. They probably would think that we had a pretty competitive team, competitive in the match, competitive with themselves and each other. But there was lots of smiles. Most of the time, it was lots of smiles and lots of camaraderie. So I think they saw people having a good time and appreciating the hard work was paying off, and they were seeing that. So you could see that as a fan, as an observer, you could really see what was going on out there and see how much how fun it was to be on that team.
I think another interesting aspect of Durham that a lot of schools don't have, and some coaches don't even promote, is both squads, both men's and women's volleyball squads support each other. They're there for each other. They cheer each other on. It's a you know, a very close-knit community, and it's the team that's not playing can help to engage the spectators. And Durham gets a good crowd out usually. There's usually a few more spectators for the women's games than the men's games, but the men's games we've had good crowds out as well. And the energy of the crowd, the energy of the spectators can really spill over into the home court. So our guys took a lot of energy from the stands last year as well as themselves.
It's tough to keep the families out there after 9 o'clock for you guys. But that's when the real rowdy crowd comes out for you, though.
Yeah. Maybe someday the OCAA will have the men's games first.
I feel like this is a good segue. Do you want to show that clip, Mike?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So last year, as we went into the gold medal game, no, that was actually out in Fredericton at the national championships. We asked Jordan and the video team to put together a highlight reel that we showed before a couple of our matches, just to bring back some of the highlights and special moments of the year. So if you want to go ahead and run that.
Yeah. I think we'll see some of the smiling faces we were talking about on this thing. Everyone can see that? You're all good?
Yeah.
James hurt with the
Kills
big
it over
kill.
to finish this set and the match.
Those are some good memories, eh?
Yeah, that was really awesome to have that for the guys.
My log of all the people was on the side when Andrew hit that guy in a can from the back row ball. So I'm glad I had the second shot on that. That was one of the most incredible swings I've ever seen in my life. Well, just to take that particular hit, Andrew hit a backcourt ball and hit this guy in 5 in the face so hard that it came back over the net, past me on the bench, and one of the players down our bench caught the ball.
It was
That's
your
how-
guys. It was your
That's
AP.
how
It was your
far
student
it went off this guy's face. We didn't see that guy the rest of the match.
All I remember after showing that clip to some people, because obviously we cut it because it was so awesome, was just Rusbey letting me know how scared he was of Dubé after that, especially just after all the guttural screaming after.
Yeah, that kind of play really sets a tone, and it was a game with the momentum that's pretty much sealed the fate of our opponent, and we cruised on. Again, a super important game. It's your first game at OCs, and you never really know. Like any team could show up on any given day, but yeah, we showed up big.
Will, do you have any other questions?
I was wondering how early you guys would start practicing, like in the season.
So normally we'll have 2 years ago, we got together twice a month during the summer. And then the first week of September, we don't do anything. Then we have tryouts. And then as soon as tryouts are done, we'll get right into our regular routine, which is usually the third week of September. So the first 2 weeks of September are, we're kind of off. Then we have tryouts, and then move into our full schedule of practices. And then right away as well, we'll go to Humber, and we'll host our own tournament at Thanksgiving, and then we jump into the league games.
Anything else there, Will?
I was wondering for meal money for away games, if there's any.
Yeah, Durham again is really excellent at providing for their student athletes. So for every away game, depending on how long you go, if it's just a day trip or an overnight or a multi-overnight, there's different amounts. I think it's 15 and 35 and 50, something like that. When we went to nationals, when we went to provincials and nationals, I think it was $75 and $100 or something like that. It's a lot of money. And then we usually have a team meal as well. And that comes from our fundraising money.
And then is there any additional cost to play on the team, like for uniforms and stuff like that, or?
So there is, but there's also an Adopt a Lord program. So with the Adopt a Lord program, what we do is ask every athlete to go out and get a sponsor. So that sponsor donates money, they get a tax receipt, and that money goes towards the athlete's kit. And each year the athlete will get a different amount of gear. So this jacket, as an example, is Adidas jacket, which comes with pants, and then there's golf shirts, dry fit, sweatsuit, backpack, things like that. So each year that you're an athlete, you're going to get a few different pieces that will go together. So after your 3 years or 4 years, you'll get a full package of all the different things that athletes get. So if you get your sponsor an Adopt Award, then it doesn't cost you anything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I believe the Adopt Award is usually $250 too.
Yeah.
So if you go out and you find a local business, or some people have aunts or uncles that might run like a car dealership or have a restaurant or something, they get to donate that $250 to you as an Adopt a Lord, but then they also get to have that tax receipt as well, which I know a lot of businesses like to try and take advantage of. So that's always a good thing for them too.
Mhm. And then for residents, for student athletes, is there any like guarantee on residents or?
Jordan, you want to jump in on this one?
Yeah. I don't believe there's anything in place in terms of guarantees for athletes, just because with the colleges, our tryouts and stuff usually come a little bit later after school started. It's not as much going into place as the university seasons, which a lot of them, the fall seasons, they kick off even before school starts. They'll begin in August, the soccer seasons and everything like that. But I will say that our residences have not hit peak capacity over the last, I think, 3 or 4 years, and they've just built more. So there should be space in residence. That shouldn't be too much of an issue. A lot of athletes will end up being in residence in first year if they're a first year athlete, and then they might move in together into some of the off-campus housing. That's becoming more and more prevalent around our campus as well, because there's tons and tons of off-campus options as well, maybe after your first year too.
The last 2 years that I've been involved with the athletes coming in first year, they have been asked to give us their preference for which residence they'd like to be in, and then we would pass that along. And everybody's gotten exactly what they wanted. Yeah, but again, there's no guarantee, but there seems to be more supply than demand.
Well, what Durham's doing though too, they almost guaranteed residence for first year students anyways. But there is a block that we get for varsity athletes, and then basically they also try to match you up with somebody. If we can match you up with like another varsity player, if you want to, they can do that as well. So it kind of it's a seamless thing. It's not a big thing to worry about. Will for residents, I don't think it'd be anything at all for you.
Tony knows who to rub elbows with.
Okay, there, Kim. It's not what you know; it's who you know.
Anything else there, Will?
Yes. Is there a nutritionist for the team?
Yeah, Tony Clark.
So no nutritionist for the team. I'm not sure if we have one in our campus recreation and wellness center either. So that might be a service that you would have to look at if you wanted to take advantage of it. It would have to be something you look at off campus. There's lots of services and stuff through our wellness center, which is located right in our athletics facility, like between just going there for a clinic or the pharmacy. On top of that stuff, there's, like they already mentioned, massage therapy, chiropractic, and these are all the additional things on top of what you can take advantage of through athletic therapy as a varsity athlete.
Why are we making the cake?
And then also, how much do you guys stress rehab? Like, do your trainers stress a lot, like spending 20 minutes before each workout or before each gym session just to kind of keep your shoulder ready and stuff like that?
That's very individualized, Will. So each athlete has a different routine that they like to go through. Some of our guys like to do it on their own. Some guys like to work with a therapist or a trainer before and after every practice. Sometimes a guy might get a little tense or tight in a particular muscle, and then they'll roll that out, work it. If there's something gets tweaked, then right away they'll stop and go over to see the trainer. So again, it's like with two experts on staff, then they're there before practice and after practice. There's all kinds of opportunity to tailor that to exactly the way you want it or need it, and that's in addition to the full therapy office and equipment.
To piggyback off that, there will too. Like when you asked about the like nutritionists and that, like ETS staff, like they through a Kinduct program, on there, they have some meal plan and all that stuff on there. You could access that. And with like rehab stuff as well, Manny, who is now our head trainer, he comes from physiotherapy background. So he's very engaged this year to make sure. So if you have some kind of ailment or something like that, that he will make sure that he will know what to do and provide you exercises along with the student trainers, right? So if you do need something prior, working with a band or something like that, they'll give you those tips and tricks and everything else like that. But a lot of it could be on your own, just based on them giving you like homework exercises and stuff like that.
Okay. I think that's all the questions I have.
That was good. That was a good way to finish it off. So I'll just ask one more here for Mike and Dwayne, and Tony, you can even chime in at the end if you want here too. Just any final tips for someone that's interested in collegiate athletics?
I guess my first one now would be, don't get discouraged by what's going on right now with the pandemic and COVID and these changes that we're all having to deal with. It can be stressful, but especially being an athlete, a student athlete, you've got that distraction, that thing that you love, that you can go and do and you can work at on your own. You don't even have to be in a core, you don't have to be with other athletes and players, but just to keep working away at it, and to keep the mental aspect really positive. Stay positive. It's super, super important. But expect the unexpected. And that's what we're finding out now as we go through this, is that you kind of never really know week to week what to expect. And when we show up at school, we're super careful. We're taking all of our precautions, but going in and wondering, okay, what's going to happen next? So don't, I think it's really keep a positive attitude, a positive mindset, and just keep working, because by working, it's, good things are going to happen.
Dwayne, any tips for someone heading off to college?
Be prepared. That's it. Set yourself up, plan it. Like we do with coaching, you get a season plan together so that you know where you need to be at certain times, know your schedules, know what courses you're doing, know when everything's ready to go. Just be prepared as much as you can. Take as much information, because too much information, just enough.
And Tony, your tips for someone coming to DC for college athletics?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, just, it's Mike's really good with, and Dwayne are really good with the transitioning part. Really try to get to know the guys prior coming in. So Mike will probably get you in contact with some guys later on, just to kind of build that rapport. So you're not coming in like, deer in the headlights type thing. So you just know people prior. And again, just come in and try not to compare yourself with other people that you think are better than you, because what happens is you're focusing all your energy on that, and then you're setting yourself up for failure sometimes doing that. So first, your confidence is the biggest thing that a lot of athletes have a hard time getting over, because you think you're going to a college team. It's usually the best players from each team from every place in the world are there, and you're all good. But at the same time, you can only get better by making each other work. So just try to stay humble, which you are. I know, Will, you're very humble in that, and you are a hard worker up the court. Just keep on doing that and coming in ready to go.
Awesome. And with that, I'm through my list of questions. We're almost hitting the hour. Yeah, guys, thanks for coming through. Hopefully you gained quite a bit from this, Will.
Yeah, I did, for sure.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Will, again. It's always great to see you and answer those really great questions that you pose.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Thanks for taking your time out of your day there to chat with me.
Well, nice to put a name and a face together and Be sure to say hello to Dave.
For sure.
I think he'll have that mustache shaved next time, though.
Oh, don't worry. Don will reply to calling me. I'm gonna give me your number now, Dwayne, all the time to call you.
I just passed my message on through Will. Will's gonna take care of that for me.
All right.
Okay, have a good night, guys.
Be
Great
safe,
seeing
guys.
you,
Everyone be safe.
everybody.